What harmless lie accidentally turned me into the most important person in someone's life? I never planned on becoming anyone's role model. Honestly, I was just trying to avoid an awkward conversation. It all started on a rainy Saturday morning. I was waiting for my coffee outside a neighborhood bookstore when a little boy came running toward me. He was holding a sketchbook almost as big as he was. Without even slowing down, he smiled and said, "Mr. Ben, I finished my drawing." Before I could answer, he shoved the sketchbook into my hands. I stared at it. It was a picture of a giant dragon flying over a castle. The detail was incredible. I smiled and said, "Wow, this is really good." Just then, his grandmother walked over carrying 3 bags of books. She looked relieved. "I knew you'd encourage him." I blinked. "I'm sorry, I think you've got the wrong..." But before I could finish, she thanked me for volunteering with the Saturday art club. She was already walking away. I stood there confused. I should have corrected her. Instead, I awkwardly smiled. I figured I'd never see them again. The very next weekend, I stopped by the bookstore again. Big mistake. The little boy spotted me through the window. "Mr. Ben?" Within seconds, 6 more kids came running over carrying colored pencils and sketchbooks. Apparently, the real volunteer art instructor had moved out of town a month earlier. Somehow everyone assumed I was his replacement. One parent handed me a box of markers. Another rolled out folding tables. Someone even asked what today's lesson would be. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, so I smiled and said, "Today, let's draw something we've never seen before." Then I secretly searched easy drawing ideas for kids. That first afternoon was complete chaos. One child drew a purple elephant wearing roller skates. Another insisted the sun should have eyebrows. By the end of the session, I had marker stains on my shirt, paint in my hair, and somehow, the kids couldn't wait to come back. Every Saturday after that, I spent Friday nights watching free art tutorials online. Not because I wanted to fake being an artist, because I didn't want to disappoint those kids. One of them stood out. His name was Noah. He barely spoke. He always sat in the corner drawing tiny houses with no people inside. Every single week, his grandmother quietly told me that his parents had both passed away within the same year. Since then, he rarely smiled. One afternoon, I noticed something different. Instead of another empty house, he drew 2 people standing on the front porch. I asked who they were. He shrugged. "Someone who stays." That sentence followed me home. I realized those Saturday mornings meant far more than coloring pictures. Months passed. Parents started bringing snacks. Local businesses donated supplies. Someone even made little aprons with community art club stitched across the front. Then came the spring art fair. Every child displayed their favorite drawing. When Noah's turn came, he walked onto the stage holding a framed picture. It showed him standing beside a tall man wearing a paint-covered apron. At the bottom, he'd carefully written, "Me and Mr. Ben." He pointed at me from across the room and smiled the biggest smile I'd ever seen. The audience applauded. My heart sank, because I'd never actually told anyone the truth. That night, I couldn't sleep. The following Saturday, after class ended, I gathered all the parents together. I admitted everything. I wasn't an art teacher. I'd never led a class before. The first day had been one giant misunderstanding. For a few seconds, nobody spoke. Then one mom laughed. Another parent smiled. Finally, Noah's grandmother stepped forward. She looked at everyone and quietly said, "Maybe he wasn't an art teacher, but he showed up every single week." She looked at me. "You learned because these children mattered to you." The other parents nodded. Then Noah walked over holding my hand. He looked nervous. "So, you're still coming next Saturday, right?" I smiled. "If you'll still let me." He hugged me without saying another word. A month later, the community center officially offered me the volunteer position. They even paid for my children's art instructor certification. It's been almost 3 years now. Every Saturday morning, I unlock that little classroom before anyone arrives. A few minutes later, the hallway fills with excited voices. And without fail, the very first one I hear is Noah shouting, "Mr. Ben?" Funny enough, that tiny misunderstanding became the most meaningful job I've ever had. Sometimes the people who change a child's life aren't the ones with perfect qualifications. They're simply the ones who keep showing up.